This just in.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to this news update show. Glad you guys could all come through because Kyle Shanahan spoke to the media. The 49ers have returned to practice, and with that comes a little bit more clarity on some of the players and some of their injuries. Players, of course, that were injured in the game last week against the Seattle Seahawks and even the week before against the Philadelphia Eagles have been a big topic of conversation because the 49ers have been suffering some injuries on the defensive side of the ball. And normally you can withstand those, but they're starting to stack at some positions. Now, the 49ers have done a good job of making sure they insulate themselves at several positions, including bringing in Jason Verrett, bringing in Logan Ryan over the last couple weeks. But now they're starting to have problems at the defensive tackle spot. And Javon Hargrave is not practicing today. Either is Hargrave Armstead. So the 49ers could be potentially without their two interior defensive linemen heading into the game with the Cardinals. Why is that significant? Because the Arizona Cardinals are one of the best running teams that the 49ers have faced. They average over 120 yards per game on the ground, and they're really a power inside run team. They can pretty much do it all with James Conner. So 49ers rotation now becomes the starters. Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens potentially could be starting. Now, during this week, we may see some action from Javon Hargrave and Hargrave Armstead as the week goes. We'll have to wait and see exactly where they end up being and if they're able to play in this game. But it's starting to look likely that the 49ers may be rolling with Kinlaw, Givens, Kalia Davis, and potentially elevating T.Y. McGill from the practice squad to the active roster for this game and trying to get through and hoping that Hargrave, who's dealing with the hamstring, and Armstead, who's dealing with ankle and foot issues, including a knee, can get to the Baltimore Ravens game and potentially be ready there. In the secondary, the 49ers are also dealing with an injury to starting corner Charvarius Ward. Now, this one, he did not practice on Wednesday. This one is a little bit more up in the air because of the way that Charvarius Ward has dealt with these sorts of issues before. He could potentially practice as this week progresses. But as of right now, no practice for Charvarius Ward. He missed. And if the 49ers don't have Ward, they may go to what they did this last week against the Seattle Seahawks by leaving Deommodore Lenoir outside on nickel situations opposite of Ambry Thomas and putting Isaiah Oliver in the slot. Of course, they do have other options. They brought Jason Verrett in on the practice squad. He could potentially be elevated, and they could see what JV has and what he could add to this team. We'll see. They also have Sam Womack and returning Darrell Luter Jr. Darrell Luter Jr., who had been dealing with a hamstring, is going to be a full participant in practice this week, which means he has a really good shot of playing. So 49ers have options in case Charvarius Ward isn't available. But let's be honest, everyone wants Mooney Ward out there and available for this game. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw missed practice with an ankle hip. He was leg whipped by Fred Warner when they were trying to tackle Kenneth Walker. And you've seen Dre go down. He eventually went back in the game. I think that Dre Greenlaw will be able to play in this game. This is kind of the norm. Make sure they rest you on Wednesday. Half-speed practices. Just make sure you're ready to go when the game comes. Let's be honest, at this point in the season, it's all about keeping players healthy and less about how hard they're practicing. So Dre Greenlaw gets the day off. We'll monitor him. I would expect he comes back to practice at some point, either Thursday or Friday, whether that is limited or full capacity. That'll give us a really good idea about Dre Greenlaw's status, but I expect him to play against the Arizona Cardinals. And then Oren Burks. Oren Burks is dealing with knee tendonitis. The starting Sam linebacker for the 49ers won't be available. Kyle Shanahan said they look to shut him down for a couple weeks, so he may not even be available for the Baltimore Ravens game. The next time we see him could be New Year's Eve against the Washington Commanders. So the 49ers definitely don't want to be without Dre if they're already going to be without Oren Burks. And with that comes decision time. You go with Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. He's been there for a long time. He understands what you do on defense. Or do you go with one of the young cats, Jalen Graham, D. Winters, or do you bring up Curtis Robinson from the practice squad? Lots of decisions to make. Now, I will say this, with a decision being made on D tackle, the likelihood of bringing up T.Y. McGill makes it a little less likely that they elevate a linebacker, but we'll see because they've been counting on those linebackers to help on special teams, and Oren Burks has been one of those guys that really helps on special teams. Of course, Ross Dwelley continues to miss practice with a high ankle sprain. No word yet on anyone else coming into that spot, so Braden Willis would be the third tight end. He was this last week for Seattle, so Ross Dwelley still going to be out for a few weeks at least. 49ers haven't put him on the IR yet. No reason to at this point. They're taking a wait-and-see approach, but if they need to make some sort of a roster move this week, whether that's defensive line, whether that's bringing on an extra tight end, Zach Ertz maybe, we'll see what happens there, then the San Francisco 49ers could put Ross Dwelley on the IR and use his roster spot. Starting right guard Spencer Burford is still out. So Burford, there was hopes he was going to be able to return this week, but right now dealing with a knee issue, just not able to come back and practice. We'll monitor him throughout the week as well and see if he's able to come back. If he starts to practice during this week, he will be ready for Arizona. But I think the 49ers feel pretty comfortable with John Feliciano playing right guard. They can allow Spencer Burford to get rest and get fully healthy. So when he returns, he's a full go. Plus, they now have Ben Barch, who they picked up off the Jaguars practice squad earlier in the year, and I believe he's up to speed. He was active for his first game against the Seattle Seahawks, which means he's capable of going out there. And, of course, Trent Williams got his normal vet rest day, which is always good. A little bit of good news, running back Elijah Mitchell was limited in Wednesday's practice, meaning he has a real opportunity to play in this game. Of course, he missed the game. Everyone was a little surprised. They called it soreness, knee soreness. So we'll see what happens with Elijah Mitchell. Jordan Mason did a really good job, but we know Kyle would love to go into the game with those three running backs. He loves that combination of McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, and Jordan Mason, and then that way they don't have to elevate a running back in Jeremy McNichols. So there's a likelihood that Elijah Mitchell will be back and able to play in this game. So that's good news. And, of course, I want to leave this update with you. The San Francisco 49ers have a bunch of players that are leading the Pro Bowl vote right now. Quarterback Brock Purdy leads all quarterbacks as the number one vote getter in the NFC. He would, as of right now, would be elected to start. Of course, go vote. Vote for all the 49ers. Make sure that they get to these honors. Hopefully they don't play in the game because they're playing in the Super Bowl. But Brock Purdy, leading vote getter. Christian McCaffrey, leading running back. Fullback Kyle Juszczyk, number one. Tight end George Kittle, number one. Trent Williams, number one. Nick Bosa, number one. Javon Hargrave, number one. Fred Warner, number one. Mitch Wisnowski, number one. And long snapper Tabor Pepper, number one. The 49ers have 10 players right now leading their respective positions as far as Pro Bowl voting. So great news for the 49ers. They're getting the recognition they deserve. And I'd like to thank you guys for coming through for this 49ers news update. There'll be more updates as the week goes by. More content coming your way. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.